You know, what I've come to learn is that in the game of life, you have constant players. It's like a game of chess. You have constant players on the move, and there's a goal, there's an end goal in mind for all of the players. They want to win. They want to win the game. There's a lot of high risk takers and there's a lot of low risk takers. And coming across this movie, Hustlers, reminded me of the fact that you have so many high risk takers that are willing to do whatever it takes to scheme and get money, cash, quickly, however they can get it, and at all costs. In this movie, Hustlers, these women, and I believe Cardi B was one of the ones who did something similar to this, drugging, robbing men of their money, using other sex workers. Instead of calling themselves prostitution or prostitutes, calling themselves sex workers or strippers. And they're in these clubs preying on men to rob and take their money, drug them, use them. So when I started to look at this, I said, these type of people are always considered, for the most part, to be victims of circumstances, victim of society, or victim of their childhood. These people, these women, then go on to do things like this, and they're not considered predators. On the other hand, someone like an R. Kelly or like that can be also a victim of circumstance and molested as a child and gone through all these things, but he's considered a predator once he reaches of age. These women that did this based on this true story in this movie Hustlers, they're not considered a predator. Well, in this game of life, in this game of risk taking, they have something that they really don't account for, and some call it karma. To where while you're playing this game, while you're taking these high risks, you also, in the sense of you taking this high risk of getting this money, this fast money, this easy cash, playing on the emotions and feelings of other people in this high risk scenario, you also stand at a high risk of having something really bad happen to you. You see, these things don't go unnoticed, and you always have someone that possibly is not just going to lay down and be the good little victim, the honest little victim, that, you know what, I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing, so I'm going to go ahead and return back to where I came from and not say nothing because I shouldn't have been doing that. Oh, no. And in this case right here of Samuel Little is one prime example of that. See, you've had many serial killers in the past, and some that were not maybe serial killers, but maybe they only killed one or two times. But they've come into an encounter with someone who is a high risk player, someone like a stripper or prostitute or whatever, that they believe were maybe going to use them or set them up or take advantage of them. Or Samuel Little, who was one that was involved in this high risk game, but he was the player that was always going to strike first. He was not going to allow the other players of the game, these sex workers, to get him to steal, to take his money, do whatever. He had in his mind that, hey, I understand that I'm playing a high risk game, but I'm going to strike first. This is the risk that they take when they involve themselves in these scenarios. You see, that's why you don't have to think about getting revenge or coming after someone for the things that they do that are involved in high risk scenarios. So you don't always have to think about getting back out, because there is always going to be someone out there like a Samuel Little that is going to take it upon himself and seek revenge, or take it upon himself and strike first so that he doesn't have to seek revenge. The players of the game, the women, like the women who are involved in the movie Hustlers, don't have that foresight. All they see is fast money, easy cash. They're not thinking about what the future may hold, the dangers, the risks that you may come into an encounter with a Samuel Little. And if you do, that's it for you. You are not going to likely make it out of this man's grip. And that's why, if you think about it, these sex workers, whether they're strippers or prostitutes, they use these terms interchangeably, dancers, they have to have some type of protection. They have to have the bouncers as protectors. They have to have a pimp. They have to have somebody that protects them, because there's always a Samuel Little on the lurk. And while you're lurking and scheming and trying to get over and rob or drug or think you're going to rape him, there's somebody that's even more dangerous than you, who's not going to allow you to scheme or get over, plot against them. They just may strike first, and that is it. Your life is gone. They don't think about these things. See, that fast life of living and making that quick, easy cash comes and goes very quickly. The mental state that someone involved in that lifestyle, in that sex trade industry, the mental state they have to be in is an insane mental state. They cannot maintain sanity in that. That's why they have to be doing things like abusing drugs all the time, or their minds are just not right. They don't think logically, because a logical person's mind is able to recognize danger, like the stove is hot, don't touch it. There's a fire over there, you're going to get burned. And that person decides to not engage or encounter or come into contact with something like that because they don't want to be burned. And the illogical person's mind, the one that's insane, the one that either has that mental state naturally, that's just who they are, or they have to stay on some type of drug to stay in that mental state, they cannot escape it. They have to stay in that, and they can't escape it, because that's the only way that they can continue on in that lifestyle. Those things go hand in hand. The nomadic behavior, constantly on the run, on the go, always looking for the next hottest thing, the next hottest ticket, the more, hey, we can make more money by doing this, by doing that, even though it's more dangerous. Who cares? The drug use and the drug abuse that they have to stay. All these things go hand in hand with that type of industry. And those involved in it cannot stay in it forever. It's too damn hard on their minds, on their bodies. Even though they try to maintain it by keeping an insane mindset, it is still extremely hard, still extremely risky. Over 93 victims minimum that this man probably has murdered, involved in the high risk lifestyle. That is the game that you play when you think you're going to scheme, scandal, or get over, especially as a sex worker.